Indiana's most destructive flood emergency in decades is moving into a new phase. The heaviest rain has eased across much of the state, and the White River has already crested through Indianapolis. But the disaster is far from over. By Monday, August 17th, at least 7 people had died in the storms and flooding that began nearly a week earlier. Hundreds of residents had been evacuated. Roads and bridges were damaged or completely washed away, and rescue crews used boats to reach neighborhoods cut off by rising water. The scale of this event can be seen along the White River. At Anderson and Noblesville, the river rose above 24 feet. That surpassed records connected to Indiana's catastrophic flood of 1,913. In Indianapolis, officials described the flooding as the worst the city had experienced in more than 30 years. Upstream communities are now beginning the difficult process of cleanup as water levels slowly fall. Downstream, however, the same enormous volume of water is still moving through the White, the East Fork White, and the Wabash River systems. Towns that avoided the first flash floods may experience their highest water several days later. And this is what makes a major river flood different from a single thunderstorm. The rain can stop over one city, while the emergency continues moving through the state. Every new crest places additional pressure on roads, levees, wastewater systems, farmland, and low-lying homes farther downstream. The latest casualty and damage figures remain subject to revision. But one conclusion is already clear. Indiana is dealing with an immediate human tragedy and a prolonged infrastructure emergency, one that will continue long after the water begins to recede. The chain of events began on August 11th, when a fast-moving complex of severe thunderstorms crossed the Midwest. The system developed into a derecho, a long-lived windstorm capable of producing widespread, straight-line damage across hundreds of miles. In Gary, Indiana, a wind gust reached 99 miles per hour. Trees fell onto homes and power lines. Utility poles snapped, and hundreds of thousands of customers across the Midwest lost electricity. Tornadoes were also reported around the Chicago region as the storms continued moving east. But for Indiana, the wind was only the first stage of the disaster. Repeated rounds of heavy rain followed, and they fell over soil that was becoming progressively less able to absorb additional water. In some parts of the state, more than 11 inches of rain fell within approximately 48 hours. That is nearly 3 times the amount Indianapolis would normally receive during the entire month of August. Once the ground became saturated, new rainfall was converted rapidly into runoff. Water flowed off fields, parking lots, roofs, and roads into creeks and rivers that were already rising. Small streams reacted first, producing sudden flash floods. Larger rivers responded more slowly, collecting water from thousands of square miles of watershed. That sequence explains why the emergency appeared to change location from one day to the next. Wind damage and power outages were initially widespread across northern Indiana. Then flash flooding struck eastern and central counties. After that, record river crests moved through Anderson, Noblesville, and Indianapolis, before continuing towards southern and western communities. Calling this a single storm can therefore be misleading. It was a compound event: destructive wind, repeated rainfall, flash flooding, river flooding, power failure, dangerous heat in parts of the state, and transportation damage, all occurring in overlapping stages. East Central Indiana experienced some of the fastest and most dangerous flooding. Communities around Cambridge City, Newcastle, and Henry County were hit after intense rainfall drove water into streets and neighborhoods with very little time for residents to respond. The National Weather Service issued flash flood emergencies during the height of the event. That is not an ordinary flood alert. It is reserved for rare situations in which severe flooding is already occurring and poses an immediate threat to life. The damage in Henry County shows why flooded roads remain dangerous even after the visible current begins to slow. A 31-year-old cyclist, James Breyer, was found dead early Sunday in a large opening where a road had washed away. The county coroner said he appeared to have gone around a barricade before falling into the collapse. Floodwater can completely conceal the condition of the pavement underneath. A roadway may look like a shallow pool while the roadbed has already been removed by the current. Barricades are therefore not simply marking water depth. They may be blocking a missing bridge approach, a collapsed culvert, unstable asphalt, exposed electrical equipment, or debris with sharp edges. This is also where the difference between flash flooding and river flooding matters. A flash flood can rise within minutes near a creek, drainage channel, or low crossing. A river flood may take hours or days to reach its peak. Both can be deadly, but they demand different timing. Flash floods require immediate movement to higher ground. River forecasts may provide more preparation time, but only if residents continue monitoring official updates. As recovery crews enter these neighborhoods, the danger does not disappear with the water. Washed out roads, weakened foundations, contaminated sediment, downed power lines, and unstable trees can turn the cleanup phase into a second emergency.
This is my neighborhood, and I genuinely stuck in here. Should we move out of here?
No, I mean, like, should we move the cars out of here?
Yeah. It's gonna rain tomorrow too, and then the lake is so high.
Should we move the cars? What do you think?
I think you should move the cars. Yeah.
Do you know where?
I don't know.
The White River became the defining feature of the disaster. At Anderson and Noblesville, gauges rose above 24 feet. The crest exceeded long-standing records associated with the historic 1913 flood, an event that shaped much of Indiana's modern approach to river management. In Hamilton County, extensive flooding affected homes, roads, and public infrastructure. Residents were evacuated from vulnerable areas, including communities where senior citizens required assistance. Officials began inspecting a major bridge to determine whether it could be repaired or would need replacement. Farther downstream, the river moved through Nora and northern Indianapolis before reaching the city's main river corridor. Hundreds of homes near the White River and connected canals were evacuated. Flood control gates were closed during the peak and began reopening Sunday as the water stabilized. Indianapolis firefighters conducted dozens of water rescues over the weekend. By late Saturday, the department reported bringing 95 people and 45 pets to safety. Boats moved through residential streets where ordinary vehicles could no longer travel. Officials described the event as approaching or reaching a 100-year flood in parts of the basin. That phrase is widely misunderstood. It does not mean the same neighborhood is safe for another 99 years. A 100-year flood is a statistical estimate representing roughly a 1% chance of being equaled or exceeded in any given year. Two such floods can occur close together. The estimate is also based on historical records, river measurements, land use, and engineering assumptions. As development changes, drainage patterns, and the climate influences extreme rainfall, the probability represented by an older map may no longer describe current risk perfectly. The practical lesson is more important than the label. When water approaches a mapped extreme, areas beyond the most familiar flood zones may be affected, and roads, pumps, levees, and drainage systems may be tested beyond the conditions residents have previously experienced.
It sounds like a water park.
Behind the river, records are 7 confirmed deaths, each involving a different part of the storm's danger. In Jennings County, a 4-year-old boy was killed when strong winds brought a tree down onto his home. In Delaware County, 19-year-old Matthew Morey died after entering the swollen Mississauga River with friends. 3 others were rescued, but his body was recovered several days later. He had recently graduated from high school and was preparing to attend Purdue University. Also in Delaware County, 58-year-old Stephanie Sally and her dog were found near her vehicle after authorities said it appeared the car had been swept from a flooded road. The newly confirmed Henry County victim was James Breyer, the cyclist found at a washed-out road. Additional deaths were reported in Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties as state officials continued reconciling local records. The precise circumstances were not immediately released in every case. The rescue numbers reveal how much worse the toll could have been. The governor's office reported more than 350 evacuations and numerous welfare checks outside Indianapolis. Hundreds of homes along the White River and canals were cleared, while fire departments, sheriff's offices, conservation officers, state police, and National Guard personnel supported operations across multiple counties. Every rescue in moving water carries risk for the resident and the responders. The National Weather Service warns that 6 inches of fast-moving water can knock an adult off balance. Around 12 inches can carry away a small car, while 18 to 24 inches can move many larger vehicles. Those measurements are only general guidance. The road underneath may already be gone, and the water may be deeper or faster than it appears. The safe decision is never to test it. Turn around, avoid the crossing, and do not move a barricade even if another vehicle appears to make it through.
Alright, so this was a road. No road. Look at the fence.
Even as the White River falls through Anderson, Noblesville, and Indianapolis, the water does not disappear. It moves downstream as a broad floodway, a changing rise and fall in river level that hydrologists describe with a hydrograph. The exact timing depends on channel shape, tributaries, dams, rainfall, soil saturation, and how much water spreads across the floodplain. A crest can flatten as water occupies fields and wetlands, or it can be reinforced when another swollen tributary arrives at the same time. Communities along the lower White River, including areas near Centerton, Spencer, Edwardsport, Elliston, and Petersburg, were warned that their highest water could arrive well after Indianapolis began recovering. Along the Wabash system, flooding also affected areas around Lafayette, Montezuma, Terre Haute, and communities closer to the Illinois state line. This delayed progression is one of the most important facts for residents farther south. Blue sky does not cancel a river warning. A community can experience its worst flooding days after the rain fell many miles upstream. The competitor transcript included exact crest levels and expiration dates for numerous gauges. Those numbers were valid only for a specific forecast cycle and may change after new rainfall or updated observations. Anyone making a travel or evacuation decision should use the newest National Weather Service hydrograph, not a value repeated from an older video. Agricultural areas may flood before the center of a town. Rural roads and low bridges can become impassable even during a category labeled minor flooding. A minor designation describes conditions near a gauge. It does not guarantee that every road or property nearby is safe. The downstream phase may last longer than the dramatic urban rescue phase. Water can remain above flood stage for days, slowing damage assessment and keeping county roads closed. Recovery therefore begins at different times across the same state. The flooding occurred on top of one of the largest power disruptions Indiana has experienced in recent years. At the peak of the storm sequence, roughly 300,000 utility customers in the state were without electricity. By midday Sunday, the number had fallen to nearly 130,000, but restoration remained difficult in areas with damaged poles, blocked roads, and standing water. Northern Indiana's largest affected utility said it expected most customers to be restored by August 18th, with the remaining work extending toward August 21st. Those targets were estimates, and the most heavily damaged individual locations could take longer. The outage became more dangerous because southwestern Indiana was also dealing with extreme heat during part of the flood emergency. Heat index values reached dangerous levels in the region. For households without air conditioning, especially those with older adults, young children, medical equipment, or limited mobility, the loss of electricity created a separate health threat. This is another example of cascading risk. Wind knocks down the power network. Floodwater prevents repair trucks from reaching damaged equipment. Heat increases medical demand. Closed roads make it harder for residents to reach a cooling center or pharmacy. A problem that begins as weather becomes an emergency involving transportation, public health, communications, and housing. Residents should never operate a gasoline generator inside a home, garage, basement, or other enclosed space. Carbon monoxide is invisible and can become fatal before occupants recognize what is happening. Generators should remain outdoors and well away from doors, windows, and vents, following manufacturer and local safety guidance. Flooded electrical systems present another risk. Do not enter a basement if water has reached outlets, appliances, or electrical panels. If buzzing, popping, or sparking is present, leave the area and contact emergency services or the utility from a safe location.
Yeah, she's in the hole.
For northern and central Indiana, the focus is shifting from rescue toward cleanup and inspection. For communities farther downstream, the river threat continues, and the newest local forecast remains essential. Do not assume a road has reopened because nearby water is falling. Flood damage can leave pavement unsupported, bridge approaches weakened, and culverts exposed. Never drive around a barricade, and never enter water when the depth or current is unknown. Continue monitoring the National Weather Service, county emergency management, local law enforcement, and utility providers. Use the latest hydrograph for the gauge nearest your community. Forecast crests and warning expiration times can change whenever new observations or rainfall are added. If your home was flooded, wait for authorities or qualified inspectors before restoring power. Wear protective equipment during cleanup. Ventilate the building safely. Document damage. And keep children and pets away from contaminated water and debris. Check on neighbors who remain without electricity, particularly older adults and people who depend on powered medical devices. Use official shelters or cooling locations when available, and call emergency services if conditions become life-threatening. Indiana's flood disaster demonstrates how one sequence of storms can evolve for nearly 2 weeks, from destructive wind and flash flooding to record river crests, downstream inundation, power failure, and a long recovery.
I'm gonna be like,
the rain may have eased, but the consequences are still moving through the state. Thank you for watching and for staying informed. If you value verified reporting and calm, objective analysis of major natural disasters, consider subscribing to Extreme Weather US. Until the next report, stay alert, respect every road closure, and stay safe.